What's going on, good people? It's your boy, Jersey Valley Boy. Now, the question of the day is who should the Suns have around the big three? Now, we all know that the big three try to make it work out this past season. Got swept by Minnesota. We didn't expect that to happen. But I will say this. Team still has a lot of potential. They just need to have the right building blocks around KD, Book, and Beal. So I would say that they need to focus on getting a point guard off the bench to back up Beal. Somebody who can facilitate the offense and also occasionally score, shoot the ball well. And also they need a backup center, because I feel like they can get more production out of somebody else outside of Drew Eubanks. And the third piece I would say is a defensive wing, because we all know that the Suns' defense wasn't as good as it can be, and having a defensive wing definitely will help with that. Now, I want to start off by saying, in terms of the defensive wing position, I really like Royce O'Neal. Hopefully we can re-sign him, because I think he can be a big part of this team moving forward. He's a good 3-and-D forward. However, I would actually bring Royce off the bench to strengthen our bench. And I would also like to bring Grayson Allen off the bench as well for firepower. But that's another story. But back to what I was saying, I believe there is a few guys who should actually be signed to play starting small forward next to KD. Number one, I would say, would be Kelly Oubre Jr., if he's willing to come back to Phoenix. He's already familiar with D-Book. He plays with a lot of energy, can score, and can play defense. So I think he fits in well at the starting small forward spot. Secondly, I like the idea of KJ Martin, Kenyon Martin Jr. Good 3-and-D wing. Plays with a lot of energy, and he plays bigger than his actual size. We need that type of a player at the starting small forward position. Now, outside of those two guys, another guy that I think fits pretty well, and if he gets the right amount of coaching, and if he's developed properly, and I think Coach Bud can help with that, is Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish would actually fit right into the small forward position. He's still young, has plenty of potential, a lot left in the tank. So those three guys I would definitely take a look at for the starting wing position. Now, as far as the backup point guard, I would look to either acquire a free agent to play backup point guard or swing a trade. Now, from what I understand, Nasir Little is one of the players that is supposed to be traded. He might get traded draft night or maybe a little after draft night. But I can see a deal with him to land a solid backup point guard. Now, I love a point guard who can initiate the offense, but I also want a point guard who can play some tough defense. So the guys that I have in mind for the backup point guard spot, whether it be by trade or whether it be through free agency, I would say Chris Dunn. Chris Dunn is very underrated, and I think he still has a lot of potential. He hasn't reached his potential just yet. He's a dog on defense. These are the type of players we need in the backcourt. And I think Chris Dunn will be a pretty good player to have coming off the bench as a backup point guard. Another player I'm thinking of when it comes to the backup point guard spot would be Peyton Pritchard. If we could somehow swing a deal for Peyton Pritchard, that would be a home run. So Peyton Pritchard is definitely a solid backup point guard, and I would love to have him in Phoenix. He's a good shooter, and he plays pretty tough defense as well. You know, if you look at him off the bench for Boston, he's actually won quite a bit of games for that team this season. So that's 2 guys so far. I'm going to stretch out a little bit. There's 2 more guys actually that come to mind that I think that would fit perfectly into the backup point guard spot. Now, I know you guys probably don't want to hear this name, but I think that we can get him for a cheap price. Not that great of a shooter, but plays with a lot of energy. Russell Westbrook. To put Russell Westbrook on the Phoenix Suns off the bench, I wouldn't think it would be a bad idea just to have him off the bench to bring energy. I'm not expecting him to shoot or be the Russell Westbrook of old, but I am expecting him to come in, give us some good energy off the bench, and lead the second unit. I think he makes a lot of sense. Another player I have in mind for the backup point guard spot will be Spencer Dinwiddie. Spencer Dinwiddie is pretty good off the bench or as a starter. You know, he can pass the ball, pretty good facilitator, and he can score. Decent shooter. I would love to have Spencer Dinwiddie on his team, and I feel like he would actually make a huge impact off the bench. Now at the backup center spot, I need a rebounder and or rim protector. I mean, preferably if it was up to me, I would want him to stretch the floor as well, but I know you can't have it all. Now, I think that the perfect backup center for us would be Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond is a beast on the boards, and he plays pretty decent defense in the post as well. He's the type of guy who can come off the bench or can start. You know, let's not forget he was a former All-Star. So I think he would be pretty good off the bench. And this is no slight to Drew Eubanks, but I would rather somebody else other than Drew Eubanks. The second player that I have in mind would be Mo Bamba. I think Mo Bamba is affordable, and he plays pretty solid defense. He's a good rim protector. But let's not forget, he can also stretch the floor. He shoots the three pretty well, pretty decent for a big man his size. So I like the idea of Mo Bamba at the backup center position. And the last guy that I have in mind for the backup center position, if he's willing to take a little less, not sure if he'd be willing to do so, Jonas Valanciunas. Jonas Valanciunas is a solid veteran. He's a double-double threat. You know, he can give you 15 points, 10 rebounds on any given night. And he's just one of those guys that's just hard-nosed. He plays hard every game. So I like the idea of him as a backup center. Now, this is considering that the Suns don't trade Nurkic, because we all know that Nurkic is a tradable asset if the Suns want to create cap space, or if they want to go another direction in the starting lineup at center. So I guess we'll see what happens there. So when you add those guys to the pieces I want to keep, I think we'll be a much better team. I want to re-sign Royce O'Neal. I want to re-sign Bol Bol. I'm glad we have Grayson Allen back. Damian Lee should be back since he didn't get to play last season. And those are the guys that I primarily want to keep in this lineup. Hopefully it works out, and hopefully Coach Bud takes us over the top. But I'd like to know your thoughts. Like, subscribe, and comment. Thanks for listening. Peace.